Hi, welcome to ABMBBS. One of our subscribers, Dr. Aisha Iqbal, had asked for a video on the chapter Demography from the Park textbook of Community Medicine. So, this video is made on her request. Now, the first thing that you should know about this chapter is that Park contains a lot of data on the current demographic status of India. These numbers keep on changing from year to year and from edition to edition. I will be dealing with them in another video. In this video, I will be talking about the basics and core concepts of demography, which does not really change much. So, what is demography? Demography is the scientific study of human population. What are the different demographic processes? Fertility, marriage, mortality, migration, and social mobility. Next, we come to demographic cycle. As you can see, it has 5 stages: high stationary, early expanding, late expanding, low stationary, and declining. The high stationary stage has both high birth rate and high death rate. So they end up cancelling each other and the net population remains constant. India was in this stage till 1920. Next is the early expanding stage. Here the birth rate remains high but the death rate declines, possibly due to better healthcare facilities. So the net population increases. Next is the late expanding stage. Here the death rate declines further but the birth rate also starts declining. So in total the population still continues to grow. India now belongs to this stage. Next is the low stationary stage. Here both the birth rate and the death rate decline and they both cancel each other. So the net population remains constant. Finally, there is the declining stage. Here the net population begins to decline because the birth rate is lower than the death rate. Germany and Hungary are currently in this stage. Next, we come to this graph. This is not given in part, but I feel everybody should know this graph because it helps to understand the concept of demographic cycle better. The numbers here denote the stages. The pink line stands for birth rate, the blue line stands for death rate, and the red line denotes the total population. So, once again, quickly, in the first stage or the high stationary stage, the birth rate and death rate are high, so the net population is constant. In the second stage or early expanding stage, the death rate declines but the birth rate remains constant, so the net population increases. In the third or late expanding stage, the birth rate begins to decline, but the net population still continues to rise. The fourth stage or low stationary stage stabilizes the population. And finally, the fifth or declining stage causes the population to decline because the birth rate goes below the death rate. Next, tell me, what is demographic window? It is that period of time in a country when the working age population is more. That is, when the population above 65 years denote less than 15% of the population and people below 15 is less than 30%. India will be in this stage from 2010 to 2050. Next is demographic trap. It is that time when the population growth is high due to high birth rate and low death rate. It basically denotes the stage 2 of the demographic cycle. Next, we come to some definitions. It can get a bit boring here for the next 1 minute, but trust me, it is important. First is crude birth rate. It is the number of live births per year per 1000 mid-year population. Crude death rate. It is the number of deaths per year per 1000 mid-year population. Annual growth rate is the crude birth rate minus crude death rate. Finally, growth ratio is the growth rate into 100. Next, we come to population pyramid. It is a graphical illustration that shows the distribution of various age groups in a population. This is where things get interesting. Now, as you can see, it is a double histogram back to back. The left side denoting males and the right side denoting females. Population is plotted on the x-axis and age is plotted on the y-axis. If you want to know more about the histogram, you can watch our video on biostatics. The link is available here. Now, coming to back to this diagram, as you can see, the population pyramid of India has a broad base and a narrow top. It means India has a higher proportion of young individuals. But the population pyramid of Switzerland, on the other hand, is spindle shaped with a bulge in the middle and tapering ends. It means higher population of adults. Next, if you look closely, you will notice that the population pyramid of Switzerland, the male and female sides are equal. That is, the graph is symmetrical. This denotes that the sex ratio is good. But in case of India, the line on the male side is larger. This denotes that the sex ratio is lower here, which is bad. Finally, if the population pyramid is taller, it means life expectancy is more and vice versa. Why? Because y-axis denotes age, remember? Next is sex ratio. It is the number of women per thousand males. Sex ratio is an important indicator of the status of women in a society. Next is the child sex ratio. It is the number of female children 0 to 6 years age per thousand male children 0 to 6 years age. Now, in order to understand the importance of child sex ratio, I need to give you one data. The sex ratio of India is, as per 2011 census, is 940, whereas the child sex ratio is 914. Now, this is alarming. This means two things. One, female feticide is common, and two, India's sex ratio will further decline in future. Next, we come to dependency ratio. In order to understand dependency ratio, you need to first understand what you mean by dependents. Dependents in a society are people above 65 years and below 15 years. So, dependency ratio is the ratio between population below 15 years and population above 65 years by the population between 15 to 65 years. So, what do I mean when I say the dependency ratio is say 0.62? It means that 100 people support 162 people. Next, we all know the word literate, but how can you actually define it? Well, in India, we define it as a person who can read, write with understanding any one language and is above 7 years old. So technically, according to Indian definition, a child below 7 years cannot be called illiterate. But UN defines literacy as the ability to write and read a simple sentence in any language. Finally, we come to the topic of fertility. Park defines fertility as actual bearing of children. So, what is general fertility rate? It is the number of live births per 1000 women in reproductive age group, that is 15 to 44 years in a given year. General marital fertility rate is the number of live births per 1000 women in the reproductive age group, that is 15 to 44 years in a given year. Finally, before ending, I will introduce you to two more rates. They are very important. First is gross reproduction rate. It is defined as the number of girls that would be born to a woman if she experiences current fertility pattern throughout her reproductive span and assuming there is no mortality. Net reproduction rate, on the other hand, is the number of daughters a newborn girl will bear in her lifetime, assuming current fertility pattern persists and there is no mortality. Always remember, to achieve India's target of 2-child norm, net reproductive rate has to become 1. And net reproductive rate will become 1 when couple protection rate becomes at least 60%. So now you must be thinking, what is this couple protection rate? Well, it is percent of eligible couples protected against childbirth by contraception. This brings us to the end of this video. You can also watch the other videos in this channel. The link is available here. Guys, thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to like, share and subscribe if you like our work. You can also suggest us topics to do videos on by commenting on the section below. Bye bye and happy learning.